Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Hemmings Hot Rod BBQ podcast. As you can see, I am solo today. And for those of you who can't see it, well, just know that I'm solo. Mr. Stoner has taken the day, but I'm here, and that should be good for you guys, I hope. Today's guest, we've got Mr. Jeff Glucker, the creator of Hooniverse.com. He is the chief host of Shift Talkers on Motor Trend, and just an all-around car guy who has an affinity for new, old, EV, off-road, everything. Jeff is the guy that you talk to when you're like, I need an opinion on something totally obscure, and then Jeff gives it to you, and well, he's generally right about it. However, before we get into Mr. Glucker, we wanted to pull a car from our classified section as we do every episode of the barbecue. Now, I chose this car as we try to do for our guest, knowing what their wants are, what their needs are, and obviously we try to spend their money for them because that's what I do anyway. So the car in question, this is cool, is a 1967 Cadillac Coupe DeVille, pulled from our classified. It's 25 to 30,000 cars on our classified at any given time. You can also go to our auction and find that car for you, your dream car. But like I said, for Glucker, 1967 Cadillac Coupe DeVille. Now, this is the generation of Cadillac, which was, in my opinion, 3 to 4 years before, I'd say 5 years before they kind of went off a cliff, as far as styling goes. The Coupe DeVille, massive car. It's probably an 8-foot rear quarter panel, raked double stacked headlights, just a gorgeous, gorgeous car. This one in particular, beautiful shade of blue, big old white walls with wheel covers. This is the car that you go, you know what? I think I'm going to cruise from California to New York, and then I'm going to make a right. I'm going to go to Miami Beach, and then I'm going to swing the other direction, and I'm going to go to Palm Springs. This is this type of car where it's all about the float, right? Fat arming it out the window, cruising down at 70, 80 miles an hour with your AC on or your windows open. It doesn't matter. Just a great car. So this one, Jeff, this car is expressly for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, just take a 5-second break, 10-second break. We will be right back with Mr. Jeff Glucker on the Hemmings Hot Rod BBQ podcast. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Hemmings Hot Rod BBQ podcast. I have a superstar guest who's just literally one of the nicest. Don't cut yourself short there, man. One of the nicest, super respected guys in the industry. The creator, the host, the founder of everything that is Hooniverse.com, Mr. Jeff Glucker. Jeff, thank you for coming on, man.
Please, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure, and your intro was far too kind.
Dude, I call it like I see it, dude. There are a lot of, you know me well enough to know there are a lot of people in this industry that I don't like. And so whenever we have somebody that's kind of really made an impact on the industry and that has just a great following and that has really kind of added to it, it's just always a wonderful thing. So again, thank you.
My pleasure.
So we're going to talk about a couple of things today. One, because I don't think that many people know your story about Hooniverse. So basically, I want to know, one, how you got into the automotive industry, what you did before it. I want to talk about some changes and so on. So let's talk about how you actually created and it came up with Hooniverse.com.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So I got a job in the automotive industry working in the business side. I have a degree from college that I actually decided to use for a little bit there. I went to college in the East Coast, moved to the West Coast, was a bartender for a bit, and then got into the mortgage industry right as it was crashing, which was terrible.
Awesome.
And then I got a job at a company called NADA Guides.
Oh, sure.
Which is like Kelley Blue Book, but not as good. That's right. Because I can say that because I don't like them. And I was their partner manager. I managed all of our affiliate relationships underneath the biz dev guy, who's a really nice guy who actually works for Kelley Blue Book now and has for years. Okay. So I started on that side, and I met a few people in the industry. Actually, I met a person in the industry because we were both readers of Jalopnik. And he
Sure.
worked for a company that I think has since become Drive Shop, which is a press vehicle delivery company.
Yeah, sure. Mhm.
They used to be called something else. They were called like AMS or I forget what the
Yeah.
name of the company was, but he worked there and he's like, you guys at NADA guys are big enough. You should get press cars. So I went to my bosses, pitched them on the idea, and they like the idea of starting a blog. And they say, well, you guys, you're the one who likes it. Here, take this camera, learn how to take photos and write them up.
Yeah.
And so I started building press relationships with the marketing and PR people and, joined the Motor Press Guild like you do when you're a new journalist and building it up from there. And then they started, they liked it so much. They're like, well, why don't we're going to switch you to that full time, take you away from the other side of it. And then they kind of just pulled that away from me for whatever reason. So another friend and I, who also met as being Jalopnik commenters, we said, well, fuck this. Let's start our own blog called Hooniverse. We started it. We were actually talking about it one night while sitting around a dinner table with Johnny Lieberman and Andrew Diderossi, because we didn't like the direction that at the time Jalopnik was going as readers under the Ray Wirt era. And so we started our own blog because Tim and I, the co-founder, we would IM each other Craigslist finds all day long. Like, check this shit out. Check this shit out.
As you do.
Look what I found. Yeah. And so we're like, well, let's just put some of these online. And it happened to coincide with like an exodus of commenters from Jalopnik. So overnight we had 30,000 readers in the first beginning, and we started it in September of 2009. So I want to put this out there for those who don't know. We came before Hoonigan.
Yes, yes, you did.
So they had a splash page up after we started Hooniverse that said "Coming soon," Hoonigan. We were like, oh shit, like damn. And so we started before them, but we have a good relationship with them now. We're friendly with Hoonigan. I love those guys. They do great work. So, but I just wanted to put that out there that we came first. I didn't steal the name or anything like that.
Right.
And actually, who helped us, who really brought the word Hoon to the States, our dearly departed friend, Davey Johnson.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Davey and
that's right.
Nelly are pretty integral in bringing the word Hoon from Australia.
That's right.
To the U.S. So shout out to our departed brother in the industry, Davey Johnson. So we started Hooniverse, and then I ended up I'll be honest here. I have no problem being honest. I got fired from NADA Guides because they thought I was running a competing website. So at the time, NADA Guides had No, because NADA Guides they shuttered the blog, so that was gone. So that means technically they thought I was competing with NADA Guides, which I think was like, I don't even remember the traffic, but at the time it was probably like 5 to 6 million unique visitors a month. And Hooniverse was like 30,000 page views or something. We're an enthusiast blog sharing links to like ratty Lincoln Continentals we just found. So I was like, all right, whatever, fuck it. I got fired. Bye.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where like a week prior I had a review and I did stellar. And then the next week I got called into a meeting, and my two superiors didn't say a word, had their eyes like on their feet. And when I got back to my desk, my tower was already removed. I'm like, what the?
Wow. Really? They were that smooth about it.
I had to call my wife to come pick me up because I had a press car. I had to leave at the office. Like, it was a legit, like, you are shit canned. Wow. Which is why I have my problems with NADA Guides. Which is now actually owned by JD Power. It's not even owned by the guy who used to own it. So I got a job at Autoblog thanks to Johnny Lieberman when he got his job at Motor Trend. Sent him a note. He said, congrats. He's like, dude, apply right now. I don't even think they posted a job. It's going to be like you and Zach Bowman and some other great names.
Right.
So I got that job for a bit, slogged along doing that. That was a grind, but it got my name out there for sure.
Sure. As we've all done. We've all done that to build ourselves up. Absolutely.
It was a $20 a post news grind type slog.
That's right.
But I learned a lot, and then I ended up getting fired from that job too. Because, and like I said, I'll be honest here, and you wanted the story, so I'm giving you the story.
Yeah.
I was technically a freelance contractor for them who wasn't allowed to write for other places. So I had to find other ways to make money because you're not going to live on $20 a post.
No.
So I took on some marketing gigs and I did a side gig, and I didn't understand. I didn't come from a journalist background. My degree was in management information systems with a minor in economics, which I now no longer thankfully use. And so I got an opportunity to promote this I'm swearing too much. I got to back it up. To promote this campaign for the Nissan Versa. how they partnered with Britney Spears. It's the weirdest thing. So I promoted it and I put this, it's like how you get marketing pitches from all these PR people we work with. It was similar to that. I was like, hey, if you guys can cover this story, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And Jalopnik, I think, no, I didn't even send it to Jalopnik. I sent it to like smaller tier blogs. And then someone saw it and then also saw that then I also wrote about the story for Autoblog. Okay. So I kind of like crossed the lines, which is true. And I didn't understand it at the time. And I totally get it now. And I would never do that. And Jalopnik picked it up, called me for my reaction to the story. I'm like, I don't even know. And I was on my way to like a photo shoot with Drew Phillips from Autoblog and Michael Harley.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know what to talk, but I get another call on the other side from the Autoblog people saying like, do not talk to anybody. We got to handle this internally. It was like, okay. And on the way to this photo shoot, like 2 hours away from my house, I got a call that they were like, unfortunately, we have to let you go. And I was like, God damn it. So Drew Phillips took and we were shooting an Lexus LFA. Drew Phillips has a photo, like a beautiful Drew Phillips photo of the car with me like peeking out from the side, like giving the finger, which was like my Facebook background for a while. So I got let go from that one. And then I just fell into the freelance world. Thankfully, it didn't ruin my reputation. Oddly enough, Jack Baruth wrote an article in my defense, which was, if you Google me, it still comes up, which is good and bad. And I thanks to Jack for that. So Hooniverse kept rolling. I learned how to take photos. I learned how to shoot and edit video eventually, which is where we got to, did a podcast. And now I have a TV show. So that's kind of cool.
That's right. So let's talk about that, because this is really cool. So Jeff now hosts a show called Shift Talkers, mind you, on the Motor Trend Network, where he brings together different people from the industry to talk about industry, to talk about automobiles, to talk about trends. I was fortunate enough to be a guest on that last season.
Great
so
guest.
Jeff,
fun episode.
Thank you. But so how did that come about? Was that, talk us through that.
That came about totally randomly. So one of the gigs I picked up recently, I do video production work for Cox Automotive. Just before the pandemic, they started an outlet called Ride.Tech, which was going to focus on mobility-based stuff, which is actually a good niche to get into. And I've been becoming more interested in electric vehicles. And I dropped off my Monteero for work today and rode an electric scooter home to get home. Okay. It just makes sense. So during the pandemic hits, that kind of get canned. But I was producing a daily news show for that. And we hired a writer who used to work for Donut Media. His name's Bart Bidlingmeyer. And he's a great guy, great writer. He hosted an awesome show on the Donut Media channel called Science Garage.
Remember that? Sure.
They parted with him. He was looking for work. I got him a job writing, and it paid well, and it kept him busy. And then during that, he got picked up as a showrunner. He got picked up to develop shows for Motor Trend because they're expanding. I mean, Motor Trend's becoming quite a behemoth right now. So he's pitching shows. And then he reached back out to me. He's like, hey, I got a show. I told them I want you to host it. And they said, yeah. Because they were like, who can host this? And then he pitched my name, and I was like, oh, that's not, we never would have thought about that. Because I'm always like, in this industry, I always feel like I'm the bridesmaid.
Dude, I'm the same boat, so I got you.
Helping people, and I love helping people, and I love seeing everybody else succeed. I'm never jealous or upset when I see people do this stuff. I'm happy for it, but I always like, well, I'd like a shot at some of this stuff, and now I've been given that shot, and it was really fun. We shot it. It was the perfect show created during the pandemic because it's like this is Zoom call based. And like you said, it's fun to bring together people from all over the industry, and we brought our mutual friend Ron Baugh was on that episode, which was a lot of fun. And I've been trying to get diverse guests. So it's hard. It's easy to sit here as a white man in the industry. There's a lot of us. So to get different voices out there has been something I'm also trying to do on the show. From people of color, men and women. Don't care what your sexual orientation is. More voices is better, and it's been fun to do that as part of the show as well.
Good.
And it feels like I had a podcast. We got to 300 episodes. I said that's enough because I wasn't monetizing it. And it's a lot of work to not monetize something like that. So this show feels like a nice extension of that into something a bit more grander potentially.
No, I totally agree with that, and I think that it's a rare show, right? Whereby it's almost like a table for five where people are coming in and talking about it. I think the diversity is great. I think the topics are great. I think as a host, not for nothing, it's about flipping time they put you on a camera, aside from you putting yourself on a camera. This has been a long time in coming, which is fantastic to see. But this goes back to the slog, right? And like people, I'm sure you get the question, like, how did you get into this business and what does it take to make it in this business? And my standard answer is give 10 years of your life away for free.
Yeah.
And then maybe you'll make a little money.
Yeah.
Right? Not a lot of money, because you don't make a lot of money.
No.
But maybe you'll make a little money.
Right. So yeah, you never get into this to get rich. The people who are rich in this industry, frankly, probably started rich.
Yeah.
And that's not to say ill of anything of them.
No.
That's a truth. And even some of them, a good example is one of our good friends, Matt Farah, who constantly says, this is a grind. This is very hard. Not everybody's going to make it. And he knows he has something to fall back on, but he busted his ass to get where he is. No question about it.
All the credit in the world to Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, if you want to get into this, I mean, it's literally just put your head down and work for a while. And if you're good, people will notice. But the only way they'll notice is if you're doing the work.
Right. That's exactly correct. And I think that's something that a lot of people miss. Like I think they see guys like you, they've seen some of my stuff and guys like Farah and stuff like that, and they just think it just happens, right? Like all of a sudden, like I've written 4 posts, like I should be. Why aren't I getting press cars now? Why isn't somebody dropping off a Porsche or an Aston Martin to me? And it's like it doesn't really work that way. You know what I mean?
No, it does not.
Takes a little time. Okay, so let me ask you this. Now, you and I both share kind of a love for older SUVs, right? I've got my 96 Bronco that I daily, you've got your Monteero that you have built up into like this, probably one of the coolest driven Monteros out there.
I mean, not to brag, but I think it looks pretty badass.
It's pretty badass. So why did you go, and you've had a couple of project cars, right? You had your Mercedes that you were going to do the Hemi in,
I still have that.
So is that still, all right, we're going to get to that then after this.
It's a sore spot.
I know why I love 80s, 90s, early 2000s SUVs. I think they're just, they're a piece of history that are still, they feel relatively modern by today's standards.
Yeah.
So how did the Monteero come about?
Sure. So, okay. I'll jump back to project cars before the Monteero, and not counting the Mercedes yet. I had a 65 F100, which I loved because it was like, I wanted a muscle car, but I saw a truck. I'm like, not everybody's doing trucks right now. This thing's rad. I had a daughter, so I sold that because I couldn't put her in it. But my wife was very kind enough to trust me to put my wife in my next car, which was a 74 Mercedes-Benz, which was a great cruiser. It actually, that car calms you down. I called that car Sunday morning because it was easy like Sunday morning. You're just cruising. I put on reggae, had a great sound system. And then I wanted something new because I did miss a little bit more power. And for some reason, I wound up with a Monteero, which does not have more power. But for years, I've wanted an FJ60 Land Cruiser, but the prices on those are frankly absurd. And they don't make sense to me. It's the bring a trailer effect to some degree. It's like people with money are like, I want that. I'm going to get it. I'm going to have it. I don't care. 15, 16,000 for an okay one. Like, come on, get out of here.
Doesn't make sense. Yeah.
There are other options out there after I started doing my research that are as, if not more capable. I think my Monteero is more capable than an FJ60, and I would happily battle it out on an off-road trail. So I started looking around on Craigslist. These things are dirt cheap right now. They're going up a little bit, but not crazy. But they are going up a little bit. Less so the Troopers, Monteero more so than the Trooper, and the Trooper's fine. Basically the same shape. But the boxiness of it is perfect because that's what SUVs used to look like. Less curves, more boxes, and I think the styling works really well. It kind of balances right between the late 80s, early 90s, like you were saying. And it's just a tough mountain goat of a truck, and I love it. And with minimal modifications, nothing to the engine, just all running gear and it's awesome. I took it off road last weekend, went camping at 8,000 feet up in California. And there were some Gen 3 Monteros and then 2 brand new Outlanders because it was organized by someone from Mitsubishi. One of which was a plug-in hybrid, which was actually kind of fascinating. Set up with the same wheel tire package as the one that recently ran the Rebel Rally. So it wasn't like stock, but it was pretty close. And they were all, all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, and I never took it out of 2-wheel drive, and it was chef's kiss. Mwah.
Yeah.
I fell in love even more so with the truck then. Yeah, the shape of it, the appeal of it, and then as soon as you add anything like stock, it's cool. As soon as you add like the slightest cool looking wheel and tire, it's amazing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, and you've managed to do some pretty cool stuff. I mean, with the light bar, with the wheel and tire combo, the rear tire in the back, just the plate that says DUHKAR is pretty. That's a nice touch. I'll give you full props on that one.
Thank you.
You know,
I consider it DUHKAR. So just
oh, sorry, my mistake.
Because I like dumb plates. Like
Yeah.
on my Benz, my 74 Benz, I looked it up and a Benz was available. And I'm like, how is this available? This is the dumb. I like very specific and clearly that's a Benz, like no S. So I like dumb plates like that. So DUHKAR.
I like it. It's really cool. And I mean that. So with these early 80s, and we all know there's a resurgence in 80s, 90s, early 2000s vehicle, right? Big time. You know, I think you're absolutely right. These are trucks, and they are. Here's the thing. I feel with my Bronco that I was fortunate to get into one before they kind of went a little bananas. I feel like you definitely got into one before those went up, because I look at Monteros now and I go, Jesus, I'm like, oh my God, everything. Because I was looking for one. This sounds so ridiculous, but like my Bronco that I have, I just put that in the garage for a while because I was like, it's literally doubled in value.
Wow.
From last year, which doesn't make sense to me.
No, yeah, that's crazy.
You know, and so I was like, well, I need something else, and so I went out and I bought a WJ Grand Cherokee.
Oh, nice.
So like an '02 Grand Cherokee.
Yeah.
And it was like one owner, super clean, and I'm like, well. Okay, and I paid like next to nothing for it. I'm like, well, this is straight six. This will run for a while, I guess.
Oh
like,
yeah, that 4-liter, that you can't kill those.
Yeah. So, but one of the things that I wanted to do, because there are a number of us in the journalistic community that have these kind of 90s and 80s and 90s SUVs, right? Lynn Woodward has a Montero.
Oh yeah.
Right. Farrah's got the Delica.
Yep.
I've got the Bronco. You've got a Montero. And I would always, I'm going to throw this out there now. I want to film something where we all take our old SUVs out into the desert and just, I don't know what to, I have no idea what to do with them, but I'd like to do something with them. I just think it'd be fun.
Another journalist who has an FJ60, actually he has an FJ62, David Underkoffler, formerly of the LA Times, now at Auto List, a great guy. He was pinging me on Instagram. He's like, let's organize a trip for journalists like before the end of the year, sometime between Christmas and New Year's or something like that. Maybe it'll have to be the new year because we'll do it in 2021 to like kick off like good vibrations or something like that. But yeah, totally down for something like that.
Yeah, I just think it'd be a lot of fun to get people out and have a little fun with it, because that's the other point. I mean, we all know in the journalistic world that there are loads of people out there that live off of press cars. And listen, I've got press cars, you get press cars, but the fact of the matter is we have our own vehicles that we maintain and drive daily and everything else, right?
Yep.
So and I think that's a big thing. I have a big issue when I talk to somebody that says, "Oh, I'm an automotive journalist." "Oh, what do you have in the garage?" And they're like, "Oh, I generally just get press cars." And you're like, that's not working for me.
It ruins your perspective of what's out there. So like my wife has a CX-5, which is it's been
wonderful.
Great. It's been flawless since we bought it in 2016. It has 80,000 miles now, and we were thinking about getting ready to trade it in, but she barely touches it now, because of COVID. So it's just sitting out there, and it's running great. So it's kind of like, do we need to upgrade it? No, it's great. And then we got my Montero, and there's other things I want. And every now and then you just need a break from. This sounds maybe jaded because we've been in the industry for so long now, but I need a break from. Even though there's one sitting behind me, I need a break from press cars, and I love hopping into my own machine and going for a drive in that, and you things slow back down, and they don't drive themselves, and you can't take the phone call because you don't have Bluetooth in it and stuff like that. So it's nice. It's a nice escape.
So let me ask you that you were talking about, you had brought the Montero in for some work, and then you had mentioned that you had, on the way home, you took an electric scooter. Okay.
Yes.
So now we get into the concept of just mobility in general, right? And I think, another point that you just touched on was that you have this Mazda now that's sitting in your driveway. Your wife hasn't used it, right? Because of what's happening. And listen, we all hope that in the next 6 months, the vaccine comes out, COVID kind of goes away, and things get to a sense of back to normality in some respect, right? But I feel like now we're seeing all of these alternative sources of transportation, whether it be a stand-up scooter or an e-bike or whatever the case is. Do you think that the pandemic as a whole is going to change the perspective of people just on localized mobility?
I mean, I think pandemic, even before that, things were shifting. Just because there's this whole the last mile solutions and stuff like that, and I think people realize maybe they don't need to use their vehicle and this is coming from a person who loves cars, loves V8s, loves this,
Sure.
ripping tires and all that stuff. But I also, if I could have an electric daily driver, I would. Maybe a Porsche Taycan, but that might be out of the budget. But that is a good one. I mean, I even drove an electric car cross country from New York to LA, which was a hell of a trip and difficult because we tried to cannonball it, even though we knew we weren't going to break the record.
Right.
So having these solutions like dropping it off, they just make sense. And some of them are expensive, but there are cheaper versions out there. Dropping my truck off to get work done and then taking a scooter home was awesome. Nobody needed to come pick me up, and it's parked over there. I don't need to charge it yet because the battery lasts a while. And even though it's a scooter, it's got 2-wheel drive, which is sweet. So you can like wheelie it, and then like it wheel chirps when you put the wheel back down.
Okay.
So like,
now, is this something you could literally put in your trunk?
Yeah, it weighs like 50 pounds probably. But the neck folds down and snaps into it's the company's Boosted, and it's the Boosted Rev scooter.
Okay.
So it's not cheap as far as like toys go.
Right.
But it does 24 miles per hour, and it'll do it uphill and downhill. It's like it'll pull me uphill at 24 miles an hour.
Wow.
It's very impressive. And I've gotten on our channel. I've started testing a few electric bikes here and there because I find those fascinating.
Sure.
I've been having a lot of fun with these things. So yeah, I have one of their skateboards too, which I don't.
Oh,
go
sure.
quite
Boosted boards.
Yeah, I don't go that fast. So, because I'm 40 and I will fall and I will get hurt. But yeah, that's how it folds down. It folds down into some nice, easy to use shape, and the thing rips. The thing rips. I take my daughter around the neighborhood on it. It's awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So do you? All right. So moving forward now, again, we just kind of going back to, the older cars that we like, right? Whether it's your Mercedes or whether it's the Montero or Bronco, it doesn't matter. And I too, when electric vehicles first came out, I wasn't hesitant, but my thought was they're just not there yet, right? They're just not there. But I agree with you completely when you say I wouldn't mind an EV for a daily driver because they literally make perfect sense.
Yeah.
Right. As a road trip vehicle, I don't think we're there yet. I still think we have a little ways to go.
It's getting closer though. Driving from New York to LA, we had to go farther south than we wanted to, and it like a cold sweep just rolled into New York right as we were getting ready to leave, which made our first stop shorter, and we couldn't cut over the Rockies, so we had to go all the way down to El Paso and come back up. But we did it, and in an e-tron, which doesn't even have the best range out there. So we're close.
Okay, so how do you see this moving forward? Right? Do you see that? The older cars that we love, even drive as daily, right? At what point in the future do you think we're going to go, you know what? I'm going to get rid of gas cars. Because obviously California, what is it, 2030, 2035?
Yeah, something
right?
like
That they said they're not going to sell any new gas cars in California. At what point, and will there ever be a point that the enthusiasts like you and I say, you know what? Yeah, it's electric. It is what. I mean, we know it's coming. Do you think it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
I mean, we even talked. I think this was on your episode of Shift Talkers. I think we brought up electric
a little bit.
Vehicle. So I think there's some movement. Maybe it's in the slightly younger generation right now. Looking at like GM is rolling out an e-crate engine. EV West is doing some amazing things. Before I sold my Benz, I actually looked into electrifying that, there are some vehicles out there where an electric powertrain would actually make it a better car. Which was like my 74 Benz. It was a gas. It was the 280. So I could get up on the highway, but still an electric battery pack and motor would have made that a better car. I don't think it will replace everything. Angry and Angrier, you would never want those to be electrified. Those
No.
they have to be angry. So I think it's a car specific thing. I think it's a person specific thing, and I think we'll reach an equilibrium where there's some harmony. We're like, oh, that's cool and that's cool, but then there will be a point someday in the future where it will slide. But years ago, Bob Lutz was interviewed saying how way off in the future, gas cars will exist at like country clubs where
Right.
you'll go to a club, private land, you'll drive it on the track, but the only way to get to and from there will be an electric car. And I do think he's probably not wrong, but I do think that future is pretty far off for us.
Yeah, I think about that too. I have a feeling I'll probably be dead by then.
Right.
And I feel, in some ways I feel super fortunate to have been born when I was born, right? Because literally born in the time where carburetors were on literally everything, moved into to EFI, moved into EVs, moved into, transportation, literally has changed dramatically since I was a little kid. And it's interesting. It's interesting to see where it's been going. The other part of it is as an enthusiast, and I agree 100% with your point, where I think it's totally dependent on the car if you're going to do an EV swap.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have asked me that question. Like you said, on Shift Talkers, we had talked about it. And it is dependent on that car, right? If you have a 74 Pinto, that's terrible, right? So if an EV motor is going to make it better, then by all means, throw an EV in there and do it. But, I did see like an early Alfa Romeo Spider and then had an EV conversion. And that, it didn't irk me, but I was just like, why? The motor was such a key element, the noise, the sound of that car.
Sure.
Why you would do such a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you on the fact that, like, I like the idea of EV swapping a number of classics, and but the ones that sing or shout or do whatever they do to your ears and your soul, maybe let's hold off on those ones. If someone did it, I'd be interested in seeing it and what it could do. But there's the cars that I would EV swap, might be different. Like more of the basic transportation ones as a daily driver sort of thing. And then it'd be a lot of fun. Volkswagens are a great EV platform, which is why EV West, does a lot of those. So,
yeah. So, okay. So we're coming up on time. Let me ask you this. What do you want next? Like I'm as we all do, we always have that next project or that next, like, ooh, I'd really like to get one of those. What's in Glucker's head?
Early 70s Cadillac. I already know the answer because I search for them all the time. So I can't stop thinking about a big, like something that won't fit in my garage. This G90 barely fits.
I'm so excited about where you just went. Okay, so keep going.
No, it's just, I don't even care which model. Probably a 4-door though for me, though I would take a 2-door because it doesn't matter. It's so big anyway. But something like obviously 75 and older because I don't want to deal with smog. My Monteero is the first vehicle I have to go get smogged, and I haven't done it yet. I'm like, I don't remember what this place is like. So I want an early 70s Cadillac because they're also dirt cheap right now. They are, and that's going to change quickly. But something giant and boaty, and I miss a V8, and I'm not going to get rid of the Monteero, but it'd be kind of fun to be like, no, let's take the long Death Star or Star Destroyer, I guess would be a better analogy. Take the Star Destroyer to drop the kiddo at school today.
That's great. I love that. Obviously Vinny Russo.
Yep. I love his car.
Vinny's got a 65 Caddy Calais, which is just stunning. And, a million years ago, I had an Eldorado, a 73. Big block, front wheel drive, all the torque steer in the world. But I think that's great. And I think those cars are so underappreciated.
Yes.
Undervalued. The amount of power, luxury, and honestly, just street presence, it's almost unrivaled, right? You pull up in like a Fleetwood, and people see that thing, you're just like, holy crap.
The only thing that rivals it, but people don't know what they're looking at, is if you can find an old Imperial, I think. But then people are like, well, what is that? And especially if it's not like a Chrysler Imperial, but an actual Imperial. But even like some of the big Buicks from back then and the big Lincolns, like even those though, like it's not a Cadillac, but people are like, oh, that's an automobile.
That's something.
That is an auto.
Yeah.
And that'd be sweet.
No, that's cool. I had a when I first moved to California, I bought a 1970 Chrysler Newport Custom.
Oh yeah.
And it was just this big white tuna boat. The rear quarter panel was 7 foot 4 inches long.
That's insane.
Just the quarter, and it was, and it was literally longer than a Chevy Suburban.
Yes.
But it was this majestic white whale of a thing, and it's one of the, I generally don't get seller's regret. I sold that car and I have to buy a turbo Trans Am in '81, which was just dumb. Because the Trans Am was a fabulous car, but awful mechanically.
Right.
And the Chrysler was just so good. And I always throw this out there. I'm like, if anybody has my 70 Newport white, teal interior, I want it back. Call me. I will buy it from you immediately. But yeah, dude, I agree with you. I think that cars of that era, those big, massive body styles, especially the Cadillacs, there's an era of opulence about them, right? Before the Audis, Mercedes, and Porsches came into being, where those big American cruisers it was it, right?
They roll down the road like classically cool steamships. It's just like they glide, and not a lot of other cars give you that same experience. Because they don't punch you in the back of the seat. You just roll with it. You are Frank Sinatra. You are rolling at your own pace, and everything is right.
That's great. Well, anything that I can do to help facilitate this, you let me know what you want, and I will
facilitate
go out and
or enable.
Enable.
Yeah.
Enable. I will gladly spend your money to get you the right car.
Right.
Well, listen, dude, this has been great. So let me ask you, where can everybody find everything? Hooniverse, Glucker, Shift Talkers. Throw it out. Let us know where we can find you.
Okay, so Hooniverse.com is the main place to see everything related to Hooniverse. Shift Talkers is available on the Motor Trend app and on the Motor Trend channel. It's on, I don't know what time it's on, so if you want to watch it, go to the app. But if you don't want to pay for the app, go watch it on TV. It's up to you. Either way, I'm happy. Just go see it. I'm on Instagram at HooniverseJeff, and same on Twitter. And then the YouTube channel, just search Hooniverse and you will find our YouTube channel and go watch some of our videos and then come back to Mike's stuff.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, Jeff, thank you so much for being on. Like Jeff mentioned, go subscribe to all his channels. Check out Hooniverse. Watch Shift Talkers. One of the best guys in the business. Again, Jeff, thank you so much, and we'll be talking to you real soon.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Thanks for listening, folks. And again, please subscribe to the Hot Rod BBQ podcast. If you're on Spotify, check us out there. Subscribe to it on iTunes. And if you are going to go to YouTube, make sure you go to the Hot Rod BBQ podcast and hit that subscribe button, and we'll come to you every week.